Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
Listen to Jane and her friend Sally discussing Jane's preparations to go on a tour abroad. Look at the questions 1 to 5. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Who is it?
It's me, Sally.
The door's open. Hi.
Hi. So have you decided where to go for your big holiday?
Finally, I narrowed it down to Southeast Asia or India and Pakistan and decided on Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia. Wow, sounds romantic. Decided when you'll leave?
I have to be back in time for the new term, so I want to leave by July 1st.
That's a long trip. 3 months nearly. Don't you think it's too long?
No, I want to do research on recycling while I'm there for my environmental studies course next year. So I've got tons of things to do. I don't know where to start.
First things first. Passport, air ticket, and money. How much money are you taking? I hear it's not cheap like it used to be.
The passport's okay for another 2 years. I'll go to the travel agent tomorrow, and I reckon £3,000 should be plenty. I'm glad I kept doing that horrible waitress job this past 3 years.
1,000 a month. Sounds plenty. Including airfare?
No, Dad's got a frequent flyer award, so I should be able to get to Singapore and back for nothing.
Yeah, but you have to be careful. Normally, those free ticket things mean you can only fly when there are empty seats. Don't want you to get stuck there until all the rich Asian students have flown back here after seeing their families.
Look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen to more of the conversation between John and Sally and answer questions 6 to 10.
I'll manage, but I'll see what the travel agent has to say. Gosh, July 1st. That's only a bit over 3 weeks.
Inoculations. All sorts of nasty diseases in those tropical places. Have you checked out the health requirements?
Didn't think of it. How do I start?
I think there's a Ministry of Health webpage that tells you what injections and pills you need before you go to different countries. Yellow fever, malaria, that sort of stuff. How many countries do you plan on visiting?
As many as I can. Singapore, Malaysia. I'd like to get to Sabah and Sarawak in East Malaysia if I can. Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Indonesia for sure.
That's pretty ambitious. How do you plan to get around?
As cheap as I can. Don't fancy flying much. Maybe I can get a boat from Singapore to Borneo.
You didn't mention Borneo.
Oh, that's the big island where Sabah and Sarawak are. Most of it belongs to Indonesia.
Oh, I know. And Brunei, right? That little place with tons of oil.
Right.
Have you still got your camera?
Yeah, and Dave has promised me a digital video camera for my birthday.
But your birthday isn't until late July.
An early birthday present. That's what brothers are for.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to Part 2.
You are going to hear a talk given to Chinese students on going to study in England. First, look at questions 11 to 16. As you listen to the first part of the talk, answer questions 11 to 16.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Richard Smethers from International Students Consulting. And welcome to today's talk on what you need to know and think about prior to going to study in the UK. Probably the biggest question is that of housing. It can be very expensive, especially in London. And the halls of residence in most universities are certainly not cheap. That's what you pay for convenience. Probably the best thing for most of you, I believe it's the first time any of you have studied in the UK, is to try to find a vacancy in a coop house with other students. If you are keen to make maximum progress with your English, I would suggest that you try to find accommodation with at least one native speaker. So many foreign students end up living only with people from their own country, and I've actually known cases where their English is worse after 3 years than when they arrived. One advantage of living with British students is that they'll probably have experience of dealing with landlords, looking after the bills, and other things that might be done quite differently in your home country. So how to find shared housing, any housing? Arrive early. It's best to try and be in the town or city where you'll be studying at least a week before the start of term. If you leave it too late, you'll be competing with thousands of other students all looking for a place to live. And one of your first stops should be the housing office. They have a database of all types of off-campus accommodation, and the early bird catches the worm, as they say. You'll probably meet other students in the same boat you are. And chat with people. If you meet any that seem to be the type of people you could get along with, then you might well sort out your accommodation quite quickly with them.
Now look at questions 17 to 20. As the talk continues, answer questions 17 to 20.
Now, I know that a few of you will be going with your sponsors. Sharing a house or a flat with other students is probably not what most of you would prefer. If you are trying to save money, a studio flat, which has a bedroom and living room combined and a place to cook, is usually cheaper than a flat with a separate bedroom and a kitchen. But remember, you will probably need somewhere to study at home. Once you have found a place to live, there are a few things you should check out very carefully with the landlord or the estate agent. Quite a few estate agents look after the renting out of housing for one or several landlords. First, how are you going to pay the rent? By the way, I forgot to mention that you should open a bank account very soon after you arrive. You might want to open a savings account for the bulk of your money and keep some in a current account for paying the bills. The advantage of the former is that you get more interest on your deposit, but you usually can't write checks or arrange to pay such things as electricity, gas, telephone, and water bills, plus what you owe the landlord. These are normally paid on a monthly or quarterly basis with what are called direct debits and standing orders. The rent, of course, is usually paid monthly, and most landlords want a deposit of 1 or 2 months' rent to pay for any damage you might do. Accidents happen, and it's sad but true that there are thieves everywhere. Make sure you have good locks on your doors and windows, and insist that the landlord or estate agent changes them if they are not up to scratch. You should take out insurance for major items such as personal computers. If you have a car, then insurance is required by law. And if you think you may want to get a car, make sure you take your current driving license with you, because it may help you get cheaper car insurance. But the most important type of insurance you should take out is medical insurance. Falling off your bike and breaking your arm can be a very costly business if you are not protected by insurance. Unlike the Student Union Advisory Service in your university, I am not allowed to offer you the best advice on what insurance company to use. Now, what about working? If you have a student visa for longer than 6 months, you can work for up to 20 hours per week during term time or 40 hours per week otherwise without applying for permission from the Home Office. And if you have a UK visa based on a relationship to someone with a long-term visa in the UK, you will normally be free to take up any sort of employment in the UK.
The end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear a conversation between two students, James and Kate, talking about their studies and part-time jobs. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Kate, I'm really busy at the moment trying to manage both my schoolwork and part-time job.
Oh, James, that sounds like a lot to handle. Where do you work?
I managed to get a job working in the local bakery, learning how to make bread and cakes. Since I'm studying business, it's really useful to experience at first hand how a shop is run and interact with the customers.
Wow, it sounds really interesting. I'd love to come in and try the produce one day. Is it nearby?
It's about 15 minutes away, which is frustrating because it's too far to walk from my house and I have to drive there. Despite the commute, my tutor recommended it to me as it's renowned in certain circles for being a very well-run and successful business.
Is it a part of the Kingfisher Bakers chain?
No, it's an independent family-run store, which is good because they're really supportive and eager to help me with the information I need.
How do you find the theoretical aspect of the schoolwork?
I find the practical work far more interesting, but my tutors are really enthusiastic and I get on well with my classmates, which makes the lessons a lot more enjoyable. Also, I recently found out that I can complete the theoretical aspects of the course within 1 year because of the practical experience I'm getting.
Wow, that's great.
I know, I was so relieved. I find the theory pretty hard to understand, so I was really worried about taking it for another year.
Do you get assessed every term or just once at the end of each academic year?
No, there's an assessment every term, which is great because it really takes the pressure off. In the first term, it's really relaxed. You conduct your own experiments on your topic of choice, and then everyone in your class assesses each other as a practical exercise. It's just a shame that practical experience doesn't count towards the grades.
Yes, that's true.
Anyway, enough about me. What are you studying?
Oh, I'm not sure what I want to study yet, but I've been making enquiries about the English language course.
Do you know what career path you're interested in following?
Since Spanish is my first language, I thought that studying English would be really beneficial if I decided to apply for a job in England. I really enjoy art, and I'm very creative, but I don't think that becoming an artist is a very practical choice. I was thinking of using my passion for art in a different way, like working as a curator in an art exhibition, for example.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. I think you'd be good at that.
The problem is that the course is very expensive, as you have to buy materials yourself, and they don't offer any scholarships to cover expenses. I need to order a catalog of the courses on offer so I can see if there are any other modules that might perhaps be cheaper to study.
Luckily, the courses don't start until September, so at least you have plenty of time to get organised.
I can't believe I have to wait until September. I'm already so excited about starting.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
What other art-focused modules could you choose from?
History of art is my first choice, since there isn't so much expense involved. I think it would be really interesting, as they invite a number of guest lecturers from across the globe to speak on specialist subjects.
That sounds great. What about sculpture?
Well, sculpture looked like a really suitable option at first, since it's the easiest course. But again, the utensils and materials aren't provided, so you have to spend a lot of money on supplies. I'm also considering the option of digital painting. There isn't much reading involved, and the accommodation is located inside the studio, so you would never have to worry about commuting.
Commuting is such an inconvenience, so that's definitely a big advantage. What do you think of art theory?
That's definitely an option for me. There are no exams, as you get assessed on your coursework and research is conducted independently, so you can work from home, which is really convenient. The only other option is photography, but I'm not so keen on that.
Why not?
I've just never really been interested in it, and I see it more as a medium for documentation rather than an art form. You're also required to buy one of those really expensive cameras with a digital display and micro-focus capabilities, which I can't afford.
Well, let me know what course you decide on.
I will. Thanks for talking it over with me.
No problem. See you later.
The end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a talk on the subject of birds in New Zealand. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to look at birds native to New Zealand, delving into the facts and exploring methods of protecting these species from extinction. It may surprise you to hear that there are thousands of bird species that are endemic to New Zealand. That is to say, that they are not found anywhere else on the globe. Since most of these birds live on a diet of freshly caught fish, they often nest along the coastline, or if they need to catch freshwater fish, the neighbouring river. Once they have mated, the female birds will collect twigs and pieces of debris to build nests where she can safely hatch her eggs out of the reach of predators. When humans arrived in New Zealand about 700 years ago, rats were carried on the ships with them. The rats flourished in the warm climate and put pressure on the native bird populations, in particular on the flightless species. In 1984, researchers found that only 3 pairs of flightless bird species remained in existence, and that even these faced severe threats. New Zealand is now a world leader in facilitating the recovery of severely endangered species from the brink of extinction. Every year, researchers carry out surveys in order to monitor the fluctuating levels of bird numbers and species living in New Zealand. Due to the migration patterns of many of the species, it is particularly hard to estimate the bird numbers accurately, since many may have flown to other countries in search of mates and warmer climates, and thus not appear in the survey. Bird numbers are also particularly sensitive to environmental influences, in particular to those related to human activity. Everyday activities, such as farming or constructing a home, can have a massive impact on the local populations. Forests that serve as a habitat for thousands of birds can be entirely eradicated to make fields for crops or to provide wood for construction, having a disastrous impact. It is not only the human influence that threatens the future of many bird species, since many predatory animal species have flourished in New Zealand. One of these species is the mantane snake, which was introduced from Australia and has decimated the population of killdeer birds. These birds nest on the ground and often return to find that their eggs have been devoured by the egg-eating snakes. One cannot dismiss, of course, the pressure that nature itself imposes on the survival of many bird species. Natural disasters, such as storms, can be devastating, tearing apart forests and leaving thousands of destroyed nests in their wake. Monsoons flood the rivers and often drown many of the flightless bird species that are unable to escape. Unfortunately, the greatest threat to bird numbers in New Zealand is illegal hunting, which is almost impossible to prevent. Many endangered bird species are on display at the National Zoo, and it is essential that urgent measures are taken to protect them. The zoo recently employed an expert in bird protection, who recommended that they should employ a guard to protect their birds from poachers. The expert also pointed out that the birds can become very stressed in situations where the public are able to approach them too closely, suggesting that the administration install a fence network to keep the public a safe distance away from the birds. Despite this threat to birds in captivity, it is the freely roaming birds that are most at risk. Efforts are being made to educate people on how they can contribute towards protecting birds that are living in the wild. Finally, research has shown that one of the most effective methods of informing the public on the importance of protecting the bird populations is through the media. I advise you all to read the articles written on this topic in specialist journals, and also carry out research on the internet. Each and every one of you could make an enormous contribution to the protection of birds if you put your mind to it.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.